Born on December 31st, 1960 in Louisiana, John Allen Muhammad became an infamous figure in American culture as part of a sniper team with Lee Boyd Malvo that terrorized the Washington, D.C. area for several weeks in October 2002. Making a sniper nest out of the trunk of his car, he and Malvo killed 10 people and injured 3. Muhammad was executed in November 2009. He was raised by an aunt in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, after his mother died when he was 4. After high school, Muhammad got married to Carol Kegler and joined the Louisiana Army National Guard. At first, his military career was promising, but by the early 1980s, cracks were beginning to show. He got into trouble twice, once after failing to report for duty and another time for hitting an officer. Muhammad changed his life around in 1985. He separated from his wife, converted to Islam, and joined the U.S. Army. He was stationed in Washington State and later married Mildred Green. The couple had 3 children. The Army seemed to be a good fit for Muhammad, at least for a time. He became a skilled marksman and served in Germany and the Middle East during the Gulf War. Becoming restless, Muhammad left the military in 1994. He tried to start his own business twice, first with an auto mechanic shop and then a karate school, but both ventures failed. In 1999, his second wife, Milford, filed for divorce, and the next year she got a restraining order against Muhammad because the threats he made against her. Shortly after the order was issued, Muhammad fled with the couple's 3 children. He took them to Antigua. It is believed that this is also where he met his future accomplice, Lee Boyd Malvo. Muhammad later returned to the United States, settling in Bellingham, Washington, with his children. Soon, however, police officers found him and returned the children to their mother's custody. She moved with them to Maryland. Enraged over the loss of his children, Muhammad began to fixate on Malvo, who had moved to Bellingham with his mother that October. They together lived in a homeless shelter and developed a disturbing father-son dynamic. Muhammad seemed to control every aspect of Malvo's life, imposing an exercise program and a special diet, one that reportedly consisted of honey and crackers at one point. Malvo and James were taken into custody by immigration officials in December 2001 for being in the country illegally. But they were released while waiting for a hearing, and Muhammad was soon reunited with Malvo. He began to teach Malvo how to use a gun, and they used a tree stump in a friend's yard for target practice. By the fall of 2002, Muhammad and Malvo had moved from tree stumps to real-life victims. They were involved in a liquor store shooting in Alabama before beginning their assault on the Washington, D.C. area in October. Muhammad's ex-wife Milford and his 3 children lived in nearby Maryland, and there were reports that Muhammad stalked the family around the time of sniper attacks. A skilled mechanic, Muhammad put his talents to evil use. Making a sniper nest out of the trunk of his car, he and Malvo worked as a team in the shooting, with one man firing the rifle while the other watched the victims. They often targeted people doing simple, everyday tasks, such as pumping their gas or leaving a store. In total, they killed 10 people and injured 3 others in the D.C. area. After several killings, Muhammad and Malvo began to taunt the police. After one shooting, they left a note on a card that read, "Mr. Policeman, I am God." The police were stumped, as there seemed to be no motive or pattern to the attacks. Then the snipers demanded $10 million to stop shooting, but the real break in the case came from phone calls to a tip line. The calls from the tip line pointed the police in the direction of an earlier Alabama shooting. At the scene of that crime, Malvo had dropped a brochure, which had some of his fingerprints on it. That fingerprint was matched on file with the immigration records, giving the authorities their first suspect. On October 24th, more than 20 days after the rampage began, the authorities surrounded the vehicle in which Muhammad and Malvo were in. They were taken into custody and arrested. Since they committed their crimes in several states, the authorities had to decide where the pair should be tried first. Muhammad and Malvo had separate trials. In his defense, his lawyers pointed to Malvo as the sole triggerman. Still, a 2003 jury for the murder of Dean Harold Myers recommended that he be sentenced to death. He was convicted on 6 counts of murder in another trial in Maryland in 2006. Malvo testified against Muhammad during this trial, saying that Muhammad had pulled the trigger on the first 6 shootings. Muhammad served his sentence in state prison